The Short Game is listener-supported on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show and join us on our Discord, head to theshortgame.net or patreon.com/theshortgame. Welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show about short video games, games that respect your time. I'm Reagan Kelly, and I'm joined this week by two fine co-hosts.
Laura Nash.
And Shane Kelly. And we are talking this week about the internet's darling, the cat game, Stray. This is one of those games that is inescapable right now. And so odds are you probably already heard many opinions about Stray. Well, here we have some more. We've been talking about it and playing it and chatting with people about it on our Discord. And I'm really impressed with this game. But I don't think I'll have like 100% universally glowing things to say about it. I've got it's a bit of a mix for me, but I am really, really impressed with Stray. There's so much to like about this game and its little kitty cat protagonist. So before we dive into talking about the game, we are down our cat dad of the group. Sorry you couldn't be here, Nate. So we are a bit hamstrung by the fact that we have no true cat dads on the podcast. Laura, have you ever owned a cat?
No, dog only. Although my husband only likes dogs that act like cats and is severely petitioning for a cat. I'm holding out for a large dog, and we will see how that works out.
Good luck, New Yorker. I don't see that happening.
He keeps saying that when he gets tenure in Bozeman, Montana, I can have the largest dog I want.
Oh man, is there an academic institution in Bozeman, Montana?
I think so. I think he's also just being a bit of a
sourpuss.
Yes, a sourpuss.
He can be very persuasive.
Do I need to make a rule, Shane?
No, we are playing the cat game, and we're going to make cat puns, and if that is Shane's role, I am delighted. My role will be a person who played the most of the game. Shane will be the cat puns, and Reagan will be your joyful host, and we will continue.
Reagan's going to be so mad at me, he's going to call claw enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let's bring this. Can I summarize the game?
Please.
Or would someone else like to?
No, feel free.
So... what is this besides the internet's best friend, the cat game? Well, Stray is a game about where you play a cat and you are wandering through a dystopia forgotten city. At the beginning of the game, you are cruelly separated from your cat friends and you are finding your way through the streets alone. There are also robots. This is created by the Blue 12 Studio, which they describe themselves as a small team from the south of France, mostly made up of cats and a handful of humans. I assume the cats didn't do the programming.
You never know. I mean, it does seem like a pretty well competently programmed game, but as we've seen from this game, you may think that cats can't, for example, read English language signs or communicate with robots, but
logic puzzles.
Perhaps we were wrong. Maybe they can program Unreal Engine video games.
Mm-hmm.
It's the future, baby. Anything's possible, except being alive if you're a human.
People seem to be talking about this game exclusively as like, people are going wild about this game that you can play as a cat. And like, there's so many games where you can play as a cat. Like, there's a lot of games where you can play as a cat. The first thing that sprang to mind was like, there was a game called Cat Lateral Damage that was like, I don't remember what that came out on. It was maybe like 2015 or so. And it's a game about like playing as a cat and like knocking things off of shelves and being an asshole. I played just a tiny bit of it. It was okay. And there's other stuff too. I'm trying to think of other.
I must bring up one of our favorite games of all time, Night in the Woods.
Night in the Woods, of course. You play
technically a cat. Yep.
This isn't even the first
Gato Roboto.
Roboto. Yeah, we've covered Gato Roboto. I'm sure there's more.
There's definitely other cat games where you play as a cat, but like this one, I think what's set this one apart is that you play as a naturalistic cat. the game finds every possible way to like intrude on that and make you think like, well, how is this like, wait, like this seemed realistic at the start. What is going on here? And like, why can the cat read signs, talk to robots, and
But then the cat
etc.
curls up on a pillow and you're like, oh, it's just a cat.
Right. But the main thing is that like it moves and behaves in a way that it looks like a naturalistic cat. It looks like a real cat. It does the cat movements that you have seen, that you are a fan of from all cats. It's
yes, the cat movements that I'm such a fan of from cats.
Yes, it's playing the cat hits is what I'm saying. It's doing all the cat things.
I mean, at the beginning of the
all
game,
those familiar
oh god.
Oh no.
movements.
Well, at the beginning of the game, when you're learning the controls, it is just cat behavior. You are pressing the different triggers on the PlayStation controller to scratch a tree, and it's vibrating. The controller is vibrating, and you are walking up and hitting the little triangle button to like nuzzle another cat, and jumping from thing to thing, which is what you do 80% of this game.
Yeah. What the thing is, I think that they've really captured here is like they've captured the things that people who like cats like about cats. Like there's things about cats that people don't like about cats, like their asshole behaviors. And I don't know, there's like lots of like peripheral elements of cats that like people could take or leave. But like the thwe that cats do that make them babies, they've captured all of that here.
Yes.
I am not that big of a cat guy. Shane and I had cats when we had a cat when we were kids. We had a cat.
I do not remember your cat.
This was before your time, Laura, believe it or not.
As far back as that was. About 9 or
maybe younger. I don't even know. We had a cat named Buster Brown, and he was a rough and tumble badass who like showed up at our house one day and adopted himself into our household. He was mostly an outdoor cat, and he preferred it that way. He liked to come and go as he pleased. He would I remember when I was a very little kid, if I really wanted to interact with Buster Brown, I would have to trap him in our little entryway that was a tiny little room by like enticing him to come into the house and then enclosing him in a tiny room so that I could get him to allow me to pet him. And once you really trapped him, he was sweet and would let you pet him.
Owner behavior.
Yeah, he was not a affectionate cat, but I mean, he was one of my first pets, so I adored Buster Brown. And one day he wandered off in the way that cats do and never returned, and c'est la vie. But like he was the only cat that I ever had, and I have since become allergic to cats. When I was a kid, I guess I wasn't. Or it hadn't developed that allergy, I guess. But now I'm extremely allergic to cats. If there's a cat in the space that I'm around, like my neck itches and my hair stands on end, and I'll start like
he begins the change.
Exactly. It's awful. So like I can't really spend time. I think kitties are pretty. I love little kitty babies, but I can't really spend much time with them. So this was a bit of a nice like methadone for me for that sort of thing. Like I could experience this cat without truly interacting with the cat and destroying my sinuses and causing my eyes to itch for days. But like, yeah, I think that the thing that really sets this game apart is the main character, is not just like, hey, you can play as a cat, but you can play as a cat-ass cat. This is the kittiest cat I've ever seen in a video game.
Very much so. And that I think is also why the game shows so well in trailers. The internet loves a cat video. This is an understandable element of the internet. If you have been online, you have been inundated with cat propaganda. I love cats too. But that the fact that the trailers for this really kind of sell visually as cute cat videos, I think made this game really go over the top, and it has had enormous success. This is probably the biggest game so far from Annapurna Interactive. We've covered many of their games so far.
Yeah,
in fact,
they've done really well, like as a publisher. But I saw they had something like 600,000 concurrent players on Steam.
I was actually leading right for those.
Sorry,
numbers.
yeah, you've already got the numbers. I'm distracted. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So if you look at the total concurrent player numbers, or the peak concurrent player numbers for all the games from Annapurna that you can get in the Steam data, there's a lot of games that we love on this, but Stray has them beat handily with over 50,000 concurrent players. The second highest really is pretty close to a tie. The second highest being 12 minutes. Did not like that game. But the third highest being Outer Wilds, then Neon White, and then quite a few thousand down is Journey. So Journey capped at about 1,700.
And this is just
Wilds,
like the Steam numbers, right?
Yeah.
So like that kind of makes sense that Steam is lower down there when Steam came out. Sorry, when Journey came out on Steam, it had been a few years old by that point.
That's very true. Yeah. I think a better comparison is Outer Wilds and 12 Minutes, which are both at about 8,000. Outer Wilds,
which is
like
really good for an indie. Those are both really successful titles. Whereas like this has like AAA type numbies. Like it's done incredibly well.
In fact, it has in terms of a lot of the review numbers and things like that on Steam, it has it has beat the previous kind of capstone game for the year so far, which was God of War. So
wait, this is doing better than God of War?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is doing better than God of War, which is just really out. And I think that's specifically in terms of reviews. I don't think that's in terms of like sales exactly.
Yeah, you have to sort of infer these sales numbers. Not that like we're not an industry watch podcast where we talk about the which game is making the most money exactly, but it
surely is making a lot of money.
It is surely making a lot of money. I think this might be an indie hit on the level of something like Untitled Goose Game, like which became a meme that extended far beyond the indie game scene.
Yes, and like Goose Game, you can make mischief, and there is a dedicated make noise button. In this case, the meow button. But there are like 30. There are so many different meows. You get an achievement when you hit it for 100 times, and I think I got it in the first 15 minutes because I was just hitting that button like all the time. Well, the thing is, the meow button actually is it's called the Chatty Cat. But you also get like there's a sequence where the meow actually is communication, and I found it really. I was always curious, like, how is my cat feeling? How is the cat feeling? You press it and you felt, is it a despondent meow? Is it a happy meow?
Yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but something I really like about the way that this game, has its, opt-in trivial cat behaviors, things like the dedicated meow button and the option to do things like claw or make biscuits on carpets when you come across them, that kind of thing, is that those things are there just because they're fun cat behaviors to enact. But occasionally it also finds ways to incorporate them into the gameplay. I'm thinking of, for example, like the scratching mechanic that you can do in a bunch of places occasionally comes up in ways where you have to like scratch a curtain to open it or things like that. Like the meowing becomes like a way to get the attention of something or distract an enemy. Like these cat behaviors are present throughout the game as these sort of like, I don't know, almost just sort of like ways of increasing immersion and making you feel like you're being kitty cat. But it still finds ways to like work those in as actual gameplay too. I thought that was really cool.
And it's a way to make sure you look at the beautiful environment because sometimes even carpets have stories in this game. I found it really interesting that the internet is loving the cat behavior, but they are doing my favorite, not so favorite criticism, which is this game just a walking simulator? I'm like, it's a bunch of fetch quests and you're wandering around. Like it's a kind of like Mirror's edgy, but you're not running. You're like doing a lot of platforming. It's a lot of moving around environments. I think that's a pro selling point.
There's definitely a lot more going on in this than and as a lover of walking simulators, I might have loved this game even more were it such a thing.
Me too. There's a
but-
lot
Yeah,
more
actually,
plot.
honestly, I was expecting this game to be more like of a quote unquote walking simulator. I was expecting to be doing more of like all the humans are dead, explore the space at your own pace and discover why they are gone.
And
You know,
that's not the game.
and that's not it. It's much in a kind of a big surprise for me. It's
Yeah.
much more of an old school adventure game in its structure. At least that's
This
what it
is
felt
a
like
task oriented
Mhm.
feline.
Yeah.
Yes, this cat has quests that it must fulfill. One more thing while we're talking about the internet and the way it's been talking about the game, I do want to say up front, skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want any spoiler. The cat does not die. The internet is saying it does. It does not die.
There are lots of ways for the cat to die in this game.
Temporarily, yes.
Temporarily.
But then it
Like
resurrects.
it's yeah, you can get killed. I think Laura,
But the
you're
internet
right.
is
Like
saying that the end of the game is that, and that's not true.
that it's a sad kitty cat.
Yes,
Death
it's not a
simulator. Yeah.
sad kitty cat
So
game.
I think I'm of two minds about this because like on one side, like I get where like if you're somebody who's potentially interested in this game and you're a cat lover, you might not want to play a game that culminates in the sad death of your adorable cat, and that might be information that you really would like want to know and would potentially put you off of playing this great game. On the other side, I think it's a masterful piece of trolling. I think that's an extremely funny thing to like fake rumor to spread about the internet's favorite cat game that like the cat dies in the end. I'm trying to invent like oh, the cat has to jump into a meat grinder to save the last human or something like that. Like
What was
I don't
that
know what it would
phone
be,
game
but
where you had like a friend and then you played it for 100 days and then the friend died?
I don't know, but that sounds terrible. What give me
There
more
was-
information? Or?
There was some kind of phone game where you had like a pen pal or something and you like were best friends with it, and then like after 100 days or something the friend died.
Oh, that sounds really
and the-
bleak. I do
And
not
people
know what
were
that
like,
is.
5 stars, I love this game. Then people were like editing the
And
reviews.
then,
This
then
game
they
is
come
terrible.
back. Oh my god. Oh, that's awful.
It's like that's if you really want peak trolling, it's whatever that game was. But
Mhm.
you are in relative.
I-
The cat will be in peril.
I'm trying to Google this, but all that's coming up is a game called Pen Pal that says, "Do not write a letter to this pen pal. It is a mysterious man who might want to eat you."
Oh dear.
I don't know what that is, but I think I'm intrigued.
I think it's just one of these like YouTube shock react focused horror games.
All right. Well, maybe not that interesting. So I think what's surprised me most about this game is that like it is like so if we didn't fully set this up at the beginning, like this is a game that takes place in this incredibly dense post-human, post-apocalyptic, sort of techno-futuristic setting that is sort of like a enclosed walled city. In fact, I think I saw that they were like specifically inspired by like Kowloon walled city. You have these like incredibly dense urban environments, the kind of places that are like barely navigable by humans, but extremely navigable by cats. And that is a master stroke. This idea of like playing as a cat in one of these incredibly dense like warrens of industrial architecture, or you know just like a haphazard human architecture that is barely or not navigable by people, but has plenty of cat-sized holes and air conditioning wall units to jump on top of. And it has a cat movement system that is extremely unique. And at first I thought this was going to be something that would put me off, but actually I found it incredibly fluid and cool. How did you guys find the jumping mechanic in this game, which I think is kind of unique?
I liked it a lot. It reminded me of games like Assassin's Creed or what have you. The thing that really typifies it is you're not pressing a button to jump. There's no like Mario jump button, because cats, generally speaking, do not jump straight up into the air,
Unless they see a cucumber.
Yes, but what it does is it basically gives you kind of a tooltip will pop up anytime there's a surface you can jump to. Like you'll see a little A button appear somewhere, etc. And at first I was like, well, that's kind of annoying. Is it like literally there's scripted spots you can jump to? That seems kind of limited. But two things I was wrong about there. First off, really, it's just about everywhere. It's more about the tooltip popping up is more about like just letting you know you can jump here. But what's very interesting here is you can hold that jump button and fluidly kind of flow from one ledge or jump to another, jumping up, jumping down, kind of going wherever it is that you want. So it's basically a button to hold down to go into jump mode.
Turn cat to liquid.
Yeah, and it strings together those jumps in a way that like each individual jump, it is pretty normal. But when you see that kind of fluid motion where you're like leaping from ledge to ledge and jumping across and going up jumps of different heights, and the cat moves so fluidly as you do all of this, that is a big part of what sells the realism of the cat character is its the way it jumps and moves.
And its system for like animating the jumps is incredible. They look very like natural. They look like you expect a cat jumping to look, and cats can jump in wild ways, but like this has figured out how to depict that in ways that like looks like, oh yeah, that's exactly how that cat jump would look.
This is what I wanted when I picked up Mirror's Edge. Was this kind of fluid motion where you can go in places where humans can't, like where you go in places that you're not supposed to. Like I wanted this is the parkour game that I've been wanting, and it's because cats are basically liquid.
Cats invented parkour.
Cats are parkour.
Mm-hmm. So the movement is incredible in this. I love doing it. Like one more, while we're making weird comparisons to like Assassin's Creed and Mirror's Edge, I kind of found myself thinking about the blink mechanic in the Dishonored games, because like, the blink mechanic is like, you look at a place, it highlights, do you want to go here, with a kind of a hover or like a little like highlight, and you press a button and like you kind of zap there, right? And that's kind of what the jump in this feels like, is like you look at a place and you press a button and you go there. But it felt very cat-like, because like cats, apart from a handful of very funny viral videos aside, cats generally, if they jump, they don't miss, right? They don't generally misjudge their jumps. They jump in ways that look very calculated, despite their walnut-sized brains. And like you do that in this, like you look at a place and instantly if you can jump to there. There's no question of like, do I have enough momentum? Do I need to make a running jump? How long do I hold the button for? It has none of the sort of Mario inspired concerns. Because you are cat, that you can jump to the places you can jump to, and you just do it. And like, yeah, like Shane was saying, like it could have felt restrictive, like it could have felt like a quick time event of a jump, but in fact it feels like incredibly naturalistic cat behavior,
and it doesn't require thinking.
Exactly.
I have to actually key off of that a little bit, because that is also maybe my critique of the play here. They give you a lot of cat platforming to do, but what is a platform game if you don't have some like risk of falling off the platform, so to speak?
You only fall once, and it's in the scripted event at the very start.
See, that's why I think it's a navigation game.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's mostly about like pathfinding, not about.
But it's masquerading as a platformer.
Yeah, if you think of this as a platformer, it is a boring platformer. And so personally, I do think that the movement mechanics here are showy, but might be a little hit or miss for some players.
That's fair. I think to me, the thing that I enjoyed about this game was looking at a very detailed environment and thinking, I can probably jump there, and going and pathfinding. And I think if I had a very different game could have been built that was more like, I am a small cat, this is a big world. Can I jump on those things? I think the scale would have had to be different. I think a lot of things would have had to be different for this to be a successful platformer. But I think when I was happiest with this game was when I was just a cat moving around an environment, and it was a way to move through a world and take
doing
it in.
cat things.
Cat doing cat things. But there's a lot more to this game than a cat being a cat.
Yeah. So we've gotten this far into the episode without talking really at all about the plot or other characters other than the cat. And I think in a way that's because, like, for me, and maybe other folks feel differently about this. Apparently, a lot of other reviewers do. I found the cat gameplay very compelling, the main character very compelling, and I found the sort of exploration of the spaces, the just set decoration and level design of exploring these like lived in places incredibly compelling. But the story, such as it is, and the other characters in the game, the robots that you meet, or droids, I think it calls them, not that compelling for me. But maybe somebody else who, I don't know if you guys felt the same, or whether you want to set that side of things up.
I can say yes and no. From the beginning, it's pretty clear that you're looking at a post-apocalyptic, kind of post-human world, right? You have the cat roaming through ancient-looking, kind of abandoned city infrastructure. And at the beginning of the story, the cat is jumping along with all of its cat buddies, and it is separated by a very far fall, but of course lands on all fours. And
its fall is broken by a really gradually sloped heap of trash. I like that scene a lot, actually. Like, first of all, like the beginning when you meet the other, like interacting with the other cats is gorgeous and really sells the cattiness of things. And then that fall into the sort of, underbelly of the world is really cool. And the way that the cat sort of like spends a few minutes after that with like a really like well observed and well animated like cat limp, and it takes some time to recover from that. I love that part.
And there's a terrific sequence. I mean, I don't know if there's any particular moments that you'd want to call out from it, but there's a intro sequence where the cat is kind of making its way into this underground cityscape that I thought was absolutely awesome. And this is pretty much all cat forming and just exploration. But at a certain point, you get kind of shut up in a little apartment, and the way forward for you is to make friends with a little drone buddy. And the cat gets an adorable backpack that the drone buddy can hide in, and then the cat does what all cats do when you put some sort of clothing item on them, and it just sort of tries to shrink its way out, and but eventually
acts like it is the heaviest weight any being has ever asked to carry.
And then you have this drone. The drone is called B12, which is from the developer Blue 12. I wonder where they got that name.
I will interject that at this point, my husband was watching me play and goes, what every cat needs, an inventory system.
I know. This is the thing that really I'm sure other folks will feel differently, but I really, really liked the game right up until the point when B12 enters the picture. Shane, you mentioned like good bits before that, like the scene until you get into that apartment and meet B12, the drone, is mostly you're sort of like finding your way through the city, and the robots that live there are terrified of you. And that was an incredible sequence of like, wandering around. You're the first living thing they've seen in probably centuries, and they're freaking out. And I thought that was incredible. But yeah, like, here's the thing. I understand the necessity of B12 because you are kitty cat, and their choices here were like, okay, well, what kind of game are we going to make where you play as a cat? Is it going to be all platforming challenges? No, that wouldn't probably be fun. We've already talked about how they figured this out. They've made a game about navigation. It works. They decided that they were going to make this game basically work as an adventure game where you're going to interact with other characters and explore spaces and a story and solve puzzles. And if you're going to do any of those things, your cat needs to be able to pick up items and transport them. Your cat needs to be able to read signs. Your cat needs to be able to talk to the inhabitants of this space. I understand.
Really, this is the direction you were. This is the direction you went with the cat game. So this game is sold so heavily on being about a naturalistic cat,
Right?
And then they kind of toss that about 45 minutes into the game.
Well, right when you're so we, I think, gave a bit of short shrift to probably my favorite sequence in the game, which is as you're navigating to the apartment where you meet the robot friend. Signs are lighting up to show you the way, and lights are going on, light bulbs animating towards things, and but the sign, it's not signs that say go. Sometimes it will be arrows pointing down a hallway, and then once you reach it, it will zap out in a new one, and you see security cameras pointing at you, and it is this really thrilling, enthralling thing. I wish that kind of hand of God feel of someone guiding this cat could have continued longer. I wanted more wait before I found the messenger, I suppose.
Yep. Yeah. And I can suspend my disbelief a little bit. I'm not opposed to the idea that we're playing a game in which the cat it becomes really hard. At first, you're thinking this is just a cat, right? This is just a cat with cat behaviors, cat intelligence. It's fallen down here, wants to get back to its cat buds. And then the game just starts throwing more and more little moments at you where you can only imagine that the cat would be behaving the way that you, the human being, are controlling the cat to behave. I suppose if you really wanted to role play the cat, you could find the first place to sit your cat down, and then shut down the game and never do anything ever again. But the game is built around you progressing in ways that require you to believe that the cat understands its situation in ways that a cat simply could not. Even before you interact with B12, and once you do interact with B12, you have to understand that the B12 talks to you, the cat. You don't talk back, but B12 is translating the robot's speech into cat English. Unclear. It is translating for you. It's helping you read signs. It's storing your inventory for you. This is a game about a cat with, at the very least, more intelligence than a typical cat. It cannot possibly be a normal cat. And
another thing, a shout out to Eli Hoodap, who I chatted with, who was like, these are all the internet complaints about this game I would like you to talk about. There is no explanation for the cat's intelligence. Don't look for it. No, I'm just saying
I'm agreeing. It's
try
ridiculous.
To look for it. I wasn't looking for one, but I do recognize some people
I wasn't either. I was willing to suspend my disbelief, but it felt silly. It felt a little silly, especially given the way that the game sets itself up at the beginning. You spend 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, role-playing a realistic cat.
I have played plenty of video games where you are a cat of human intelligence.
Yeah, I think to me, it was just the game deciding it was a game. Many times, it's 2/3 into a Marvel movie, it decides it's a Marvel movie. This felt like the game deciding it was a game. And some of it's some of the DNA from the beginning does move forward. There are, after a while, once you get back from the beginning tutorializing and some stuff, you actually do get to interact with some robots who treat you like a cat. You can nuzzle a leg and a heart will show up on its face, and you can trip them by darting through their legs, that kind of thing. There's cat behavior you can do to these robots, but they're also you're showing them postcards and
Yeah, like you're going to them and like delivering things to them, and they're doing you favors in exchange. Like,
which just grain of salt it. Like
mm-hmm.
it just became a video game where before it
Because
was a bit
the
more
robots
emotional.
simply understand that you are a creature with an intelligence comparable to theirs, and they treat you like an equal, and that's fine, I guess. It's just the shift that felt really weird to me, because like I said, like it begins when the game starts, it's like, hey, you are a cat, behave as a cat does, do cat things, try to survive, right? And then without any explanation, it very quickly sort of turns into, not only are you a cat, but you are also a guy. And like it's just a really, really strange thing to see happen in a video game. And I don't know, like some people seem to just go past this without it ever feeling like a shift to them, it seems like. And then for me, I'm just like spending the first, like eventually I got over it, but like like after the first hour, I spent the next hour of the game being like, but how does the cat understand this?
I just need more information on the cat's inner mental state.
For me, it was mostly the genre shift of the game is what shifted for me.
Yeah, that too.
And I was okay with it. Like I literally finished. I found the cat head inventory system, and I was like, and I'm going on a quest now, and I was like, I'm going to take a break now, and that will be my break for the night, and then I will, like, the game is changing. I will have fresh eyes tomorrow, and so I gave myself a 24-hour break before continuing, and I think that helped quite a bit. I do think that the missions are excuses to platform to specific locations. So it's not as if you're suddenly doing, I mean, there is kind of a stealth section later in the game, but that's mostly like the cat doesn't want to get in trouble thing. I was okay with cats doing a stealth section, feels pretty cat-like to me, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was just a bit of a shift to like errand running that I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, it was the sort of fetch questiness of some of the stuff that really was what took me out of it a little bit. Like, I don't love any game that's just like, here's a cool space, find the 4 objects, right? And then you just sort of have to like explore into like I'm specifically talking about an early game quest slash
Go find the notebooks.
Yeah, find the 4 notebooks. I enjoyed that at the start, and then by the end of it, I was like, well, where's the 4th one? Damn it! And the game had a lot of that kind of, and it also had some weird stuff with the characters that I thought was like really oddly placed in terms of humor. Did you guys pick up on I mean, I don't know how you would avoid picking up on the Back to the Future references.
Yeah, there was that one guy.
Two guys. There's a guy who looks like he's dressed as Marty McFly. He's got the red sort of puffy vest and a multicolored hat. He's a robot, and his name was like, I don't remember, Robespierre or something like that. Like Rolando, our name, I don't know, something like that. And he's looking for his dad, whose name is Doc. Guess what? His dad is wearing a lab coat and has a mad scientist-y affect. And they both have a kind of a vibe that is reminiscent of the, Marty and Doc from Back to the Future. And there's some explicit references. They're looking for something called the disk capacitor, which needs 1.21 gigawatts of power to run. Yeah. And it's like, guys, I like that movie too, but like you're kind of taking me out of it. I don't know. Like it has a lot of that. Like its attempts at humor didn't land for me and felt weird. There weren't a ton of them, but when it was trying, it would just like, well, why did this need to be here? Like this could have been perfectly fine as like a robot missing his dad is a really neat note to hit in a game, right? Like, well, robots have dads. How does that work? And like the very human emotion of like a robot missing his parent is really neat. It does not need to be a Marty McFly bit. Like,
I will say we tend to play games that are 80% narrative and writing and 20% visuals, and this is a bit flipped.
that's true. It's so
Um,
beautiful.
which just, I'm not saying we should give it a pass because I dislike every time you like show someone something and they all say the same thing. I'm like, write more barks. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's a game writing term. Like, just write more barks, write more variants. Like, if I'm going to keep showing you something,
Every single robot, when shown a postcard, is like, you may want to show that
to more, and they say the exact same
Mort
thing,
or
and I
whatever.
want
Yeah.
variants there. Like, those are my nitpicks. Are all like, I want more words in this game. If they're going to be words, I actually would like 0 words in this game. Let me be
Same
clear.
here.
If this game was wordless and there was no words and the robots just needed you to like showed you a picture or like pointed at a tower, or the robots talked to you and you like didn't, and you kind of understood half of it. Like, if they talked in Peanuts language and pointed, like, I would have been really happy with this, quite honestly. I think that might have been my ideal, where everything has to be learned from environmental storytelling and you spend half the game outside the game looking on forums trying to figure out what a mural meant. I would have been really happy with that game. But if you're going to put words in the game, you need more words.
That's what the game was until they, strapped BMO to the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I overall, like, I had a lot of these little like nitpicks about the game. I was continuing to find little things that I thought were like, really? Like, come on, throughout the game. And yet I still found the cat, and just playing as the cat and moving through the story as the cat, incredibly compelling the whole way through. Like, I never quit wanting to, like, even in moments where I was like groaning about some story or writing choice, I never wanted to stop playing it because it was just so enchanting. The environments and the cat, it's an incredible place to be a cat, and it's an incredible cat. So
in the first 5 minutes of the game, there's a part where you are moving from an outdoor location and you have to scrunch down, move through a wall, and you scrunch through, and the camera moves, and it's a low tunnel. And it was so beautiful and immersive and cool that I went back through the tunnel, called over my husband, and I was like, watch me go through this tunnel. And I did it. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, moving through at the cat scale. And we haven't talked too much about why this game is beautiful. They used a lot of like walled city Hong Kong influence, which I know that some people are also like, Asian representation. There are articles out there, but I think for me, it was a lot of like the graffiti culture and the neon and the cool parts of Blade Runner. Sorry, everyone who loves Blade Runner. Like, all the environment stuff is like, I like looking at stuff in detail. And this is a cat size, means you get to look at every part of the city far away and large size, and then you can zoom in on it. And I was able to put up with the stuff that annoyed me because it was pretty.
Yeah.
Speaking of zoom in, one of the wonderful things they do is they give you a really good zoom button. And so, you can really take the time and appreciate the environments here. There was a moment where I saw there was a robot sitting there with a bowl of soup, and I was like, what are robots eating? And if you zoom in, it's a bowl of ram chips. It was ramen.
That's cute.
That was great.
There's a lot of fun details in that too. Like, I know I just ragged on the humor, but like there is a lot of fun environmental jokes and just like details that aren't jokes but are still really interesting. Things like there's all these plants, but you're in this underground city with no sunlight. And then, if you look around, there are ads on walls for plants that grow without sunlight because humans had to go down here at one point to take refuge from the outside world. And they wanted plants, so they bioengineered some plants that didn't need sunlight. And they've taken over.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there also are 3 main hubs: the slums, Ant Village, and Midtown. And I think Midtown is a really cool place. It's kind of like if you've played Grim Fandango, like when you suddenly get to the world that's like a big casino and like this is a really active world. Like that's what Midtown felt like to me. Spent a lot of time just avoiding the quest in Midtown because I wanted to hang out and look around it. And I think that's a good sign. I think all three of them are pretty unique. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. We should talk a little bit about how we played this. It's interesting in that they launched as a console exclusive with PlayStation platforms. And I think people have been sort of receiving this as a, what do you call it? Like a platform exclusive, or sorry, they've been receiving it as like a showpiece for the PlayStation 5, which it definitely is. It's a beautiful game. I'm sure from the videos I've seen, it looks amazing on the PlayStation 5, but it's not only on the PlayStation 5. It's also on PlayStation 4 and on Steam. I played it across both my desktop PC and the Steam Deck. It ran incredibly well on PC. It's like a really well optimized thing. I was super, super impressed with how like beautiful this game looked, even at like low to mid settings on something like a Steam Deck. And then still how incredible it looked when I like cranked everything up on my desktop PC. It's a game that will play on a base model PS4 and still look really good. But also will potentially take advantage of extra power if you have it to throw. It's really technically well done.
I played on the PS4 on the projector, and it was beautiful and didn't have any slowdowns or any problems. I played through the PlayStation Game Catalog Pass, which this was a like surprise add to that because the game was $30 and I had a million gift cards I had spent buying PlayStation Plus back that I was able to turn in. And they were like, it will cost $40 to upgrade to the version that has a game catalog. And I was like,
oh, nice.
So that's how I did this. Also, maybe I will record a Patreon rant where I talk about why this user interface is a cluster compared to Xbox Game Pass. I hate it. I hate it so much. It makes it so hard. And they emailed me individually every time I downloaded a free game.
I mean, I'm interested to hear your rants because
not in
I
this
am
game.
Curious about how like PlayStation seems to have like really lost the race when it comes to this like Game Pass type service. But yeah,
we will hold that for another time.
Oh, yeah. But I did look it up. If you are doing the PlayStation Plus tiers that it's so confusing. It's such a confusing system.
It's available at the extra tier, despite having a premium tag on the website.
Yeah, it's available if you have extra, deluxe, or premium tiers of PlayStation Plus. PlayStation Plus already a name that implies that it is a premium product.
It's Plus Essential plus Extra.
Plus Essential Extra Deluxe Premium. Like what are they doing over there?
I will rant about the UI and experience another time. But anyway, indeed. I paid the $40 upgrade to get the PlayStation Extra. This was included in it. I guarantee you there will be another game we play that will be included in the package. So
yeah, let me know what you see turn up in there. I'm curious. I have not signed up for that. In fact, I've like taken my credit card out of my PlayStation account so they don't keep auto renewing me for the regular PlayStation Plus. But
yep.
But
I played this in the best way possible, which is I am on family sharing with Reagan on his Steam account.
Yes.
So I just downloaded his copy to my PC.
That sounds absolutely gorgeous. As long as you were trying to play at the same time and you broke Reagan's pass.
Yeah, that is the one downside. But a lot of folks are sleeping on the Steam family sharing feature. It's pretty great.
It really is.
If you have friends with a big Steam library, you can share libraries with them as if you have to. It's a bit of a hassle to set it up. You have to like log into their computer or whatever. But you can just like pop up a screen share or something and do that one time, and then you've authorized them, and then you can download any game in their Steam library, and as long as they are not currently playing, and unfortunately it's not just if they're playing that one game, it's like if I am playing any game in my Steam library, it locks other people out from it. But if I'm not playing a game on Steam, then Shane can play all of my games on Steam.
I do
and
this a lot.
Yeah. It's a pretty great little system if you have friends who are like to play games on Steam, but are not literally always playing games on Steam.
Yes. So maybe not your friends with gaming podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts? I think we've pretty much wrapped this cat.
Yeah, my last thought is I pity all the cats with cosplayer parents who are going to put that backpack on that cat.
Oh, those poor cats. Those poor kitty cats.
Those kitty cats are gonna, it's coming. If it already isn't out, there will be a million little cat backpacks that look like this that you're going to get strapped to cats for the Insta. And sorry to all you cats.
I actually saw Annapurna as a oh, here it is. I'm trying to find it. As a promotional product, Annapurna did some kind of license thing where you can buy a cat backpack, but it's not what you think. It's a Stray branded cat backpack, but it's a backpack for you, the human, to let your cat ride in with a weird little porthole for it to look out of while you carry it around.
I have seen many people with these sort of cat backpacks before that have the observation bubble, and I am just here to say I support any cat owner that wants to do this.
Okay,
apparently
it also comes with a leash that looks like the little cat backpack from the game. This is great. So, yes, if you go to yourcatbackpack.com/pages/StrayX you too can pre-order the incredible looking cat backpack and leash set, or I guess you can pre-order them independently of each other. I don't know how expensive this is. Let me look. $139 to carry your cat around in style. I don't know. Seems
I don't know how much cat carriers cost.
I think they're probably kind of expensive. Or if you just want the cat leash, you can get it for $40. So, yeah.
If you are the sort of person who is now going to try to take your cat to some sort of convention, this seems like low effort cosplay. I support.
Just you know what I would say though is like, buy a plushie and take that to your convention. The poor cat does not need this
plushie. Yes.
Yeah.
I had something actual related to the game to say, but I got really distracted by the thought of a cat plushie wearing a backpack at a Comic-Con. What was the actual thing we were going to say?
Cats have a very refined sense of smell, so I can't think of a worse place to take them than a convention.
While we're talking about this game intersecting with the real world, there is a Twitter I've seen a couple of tweets from called like
Cats Watching Stray.
Have you seen any of those, Laura?
Yes, that was actually what I was trying to remember. Cats Watching Stray is just cats. A lot of reviewers have talked about their cat. Every time they press the meow button, the cat perking up and looking for the cat. Cats Watching Stray exists. I'll also say there are a number of mods and people out there who are willing to, if you provide a picture of your cat, give you a mod patch so that the cat will look like your cat.
Brilliant. Excellent.
There is also a mod that will make the cat look like CJ from San Andreas running around on all fours. Yeah.
Or Garfield.
God. Both of those are so unimaginably horrifying. I don't want to Google image search them.
Yes. Just play with this beautiful cat and enjoy.
I think I will replay the game with Garfield, though. That sounds like a brilliant idea. Well, any last thoughts about Stray? I think this game is like, while I have some caveats about it, all of the things that I thought were like weird or bad or strange were all forgiven in time because this game continued to be compelling. It's not a perfect game, in my opinion. It is it's like an A+++ protagonist in an A+++ setting, playing a like B+ game. But that's enough. And it's very compelling. I would recommend this game to everybody. I think it's great fun.
Absolutely.
And it's also about 5 hours, I think, roughly. How long did you guys spend with it?
Well, I didn't finish it, but I think I spent probably about 3 hours.
Okay. I spent about 5. I think that it depends on how much you just goof off.
Yep.
Honestly.
There are a lot of little ways for the cat to goof off.
But I think 5 is about finish. Like, you're going to probably, if you play like 5.5, you can goof off and finish.
My advice for our listeners is think about yourself, know thyself. Think about your tolerance for a very linear adventure game and weigh that with your love for cats.
Mm-hmm. That's a good barometer there. For me, I tolerate a linear adventure game. I just didn't know I was getting into a linear adventure game when I started playing the cat game, and I had to adjust my expectations. But once they were adjusted, I had such a lovely time being cat. It's great. So, listeners, what did you think of Stray? Do you have a cat story to share with us? We like cat stuff. Maybe join us on the Discord. You can find our show on the internet at www.theshortgame.net. And that's where you'll find all the ways to contact us, our past episodes, all of that stuff. You'll also find links to our Patreon, patreon.com/theshortgame. And our patrons get access to our Discord, which is where we talk about the games we're playing. We share screenshots occasionally. We do things like, we talk about what's coming up on the show. We talk about old games we've played. If you just listened to our 3-year-old episode about some particular game and nobody is talking about this thing, I need someone to talk about this thing, join us. We love talking about that stuff. That's great. So we welcome you to our Discord. You can find that at patreon.com/theshortgame. And even at just $1 a month, you get access to the Discord. Pay a little more, and I will send you some stickers personally. And by the way, listeners, we had a couple of new listeners back at the level where you get some stickers, and I got your information, and then I got very sick, and I kind of forgot to put these in the mail. So you're hearing the sound of 2 envelopes that have been addressed and stamped. One of these is going to Poland. I have to figure out how to actually stamp that one. But these are going in the mail the next chance I get. I'm sorry that it took me a little while, listeners, but I do actually send these stickers. So if you have a need for a good short game logo sticker or 5, let us know.
You gotta put this on your laptop and or console. You gotta put this on your
both.
console or laptop.
Yeah, or on your cat backpack. So let's see. What else is there to say? You can find me on Twitter at RayganK. That's RayGanK. And you can find the show on Twitter at _shortgame, where I've finally fixed the integration where the show does automatic tweets when I release episodes, which was the main thing that happens on that Twitter account. Maybe you want an alert when a new episode posts. The Twitter account is working for that now. I no longer have to remember to do it manually, which I simply never did. So that's working again. Laura, where can people find you? You can find me on Twitter at Laura J. Nash, where the bot being fixed will mean I remember to post about games, which I haven't been doing for months. Yes, our whole social media strategy has been completely derailed by a broken a WordPress plugin. All fixed now. Shane, where can people find you? You can find me on Twitter at 8bitshane. And listeners, thank you once again for joining us on this episode of The Short Game.